Hi everyone and welcome back to Linda Libraloca. Today I wanted to show you how I prep my face before I start filming and just to transform that tired looking spotty face into something that I can work with. And I'm starting with the corrector, the Bobbi Brown corrector in the color Light Bisque to conceal the dark shadows under my eyes that come from the lack of sleep. As you can see, it makes quite a difference, and I'm taking the Anastasia Beverly Hills Cream Contour Kit in the color Fair and applying the darkest of the contour shades underneath my cheekbones and along my jawline. And yes, it looks really crazy and really dark, but bear with me, it will turn out looking natural enough in the end. I'm then taking the second darkest shade of the contour just to give my nose a little shadowing that the makeup is going to take away otherwise. I don't really alter the shape of my nose because my nose has a pretty standard shape and I wouldn't know what I would want to transform it into. Then I'm using the highlights. That does not show up as well because when I filmed that video I was not using any self-tanner, so I was pale as a ghost. And I'm using that in the typical triangle underneath my eyes, the center of my forehead, and down the bridge of my nose for some luminosity. Crazy face. And then I'm taking a Beauty Blender dupe and just start patting everything in. I use different sides for different shades, obviously, but it helps to start with the lighter shades so you just don't dab the dark contour all over your face. And again, I'm dabbing everything in, just dab, 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 and really it still looks crazy, but it will look fair enough in the end. The cheekbones, and then I'm turning the Beauty Blender dupe around and using it to contour my jawline. I'm obviously not contouring my jawline to give the appearance of a beard, but because with the extra baby weight I still need to lose and my age, my jawline is not as defined as I would want it to be. And if I don't contour it and put on makeup and the lights, it will just blend into my neck, which is not a pretty look. So that's how it looks right now, still a little crazy. So I'm going to take some makeup, the Catrice All Matte Plus 24-hour makeup in the color Light Beige. And this, despite the name, is not a true matte makeup. I did a full review on my blog and it looks very natural, very skin-like once I dabbed it in. But I like the coverage, I like it for every day. I just need some powder when I use it for filming. Again, my trusted Beauty Blender dupe is used to blend everything in. And it's very important if you have done a contour like this that you don't drag with your Beauty Blender, but really dab, dab, dab. Otherwise, you would disrupt the contour and smear it all over your cheek, which is not the look you should be going for. And as you will see, when I'm finished, the contour does not look as crazy, but my face still has some dimension. Because the highlight does not show up as well as I would want it to, and because I believe in layering, I'm using the Collection Lasting Perfection Concealer in the shade Fair, again in this triangular shape and in the inner part of my under eye circles where the tiredness shows most, down the bridge of my nose, and again on the center of my forehead. And you guessed it, it's the Beauty Blender that's going to blend, 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 blend everything in. So there's a little more luminosity. Sadly, now the light starts to change, which is a shame. I would have loved to show you a before and after, but I was filming in natural lights and the sun came out. Okay, moving on to the brows. At first I brush them into place and then I'm using the Anastasia Dip Brow Pomade in the color Medium Brown. And as you can see, I just use a very, very light hand. When I tried that one the first time, I ended up with an almost black brow, as you might have seen if you see my first impressions video. I'll link that up if you haven't and if you're in need of a good laugh. And I'll start to fill my brow in on the top and then go in with my right brow and fill in some sparse areas that I have on the inner part. And again, repeat the same thing on my left brow, starting at the top, just following the arch, making the line a little more precise, and then filling in some small gaps and yes, defining the lower line, maybe the tail a little bit. My brows don't need that much, and I obviously don't do that much on an everyday basis. To conceal any spots I have, which is usually quite a few, I'm using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Stay in Place Concealer. I like the coverage, but I'm not the biggest fan of the staying power, but it is enough for an evening of filming. Then I'm using a loose powder. This one's by Clarins. It's just translucent, and I powder pretty much everything down for a matte finish. And because you want a little more highlight, I'm using Becca Shimmering Skin Perfector in the color Pour. No, not in the color Pour, in the color Opal, but in the poured version. The poured version is said to be more subtle than the pressed version, and I have no pressed version to compare, but I found that this is a really subtle highlight, something I can get on board with. I'm usually not the biggest fan of highlighters, but it's really nice for some extra dimension. And now I'm going to show you sadly in the lighting different before and after, and hopefully you can see how my face is transformed from tired to working canvas.